Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conspiracy Farm, where we don't start the conspiracies, we just add the water. And now, your host of the most state-of-the-art, most informed podcast on the interweb, I present to you Pat Miletich and Jeffrey Wilson. Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready for war?
All right, here we go, guys. I am pumped. We have a gentleman that I met at an event in downtown Bettendorf, Iowa. Thank the SEALs is the charitable organization that raises money for one Navy SEAL family every year and one of the other parts of our military, one of the other branches of our military. And they had an amazing event this year, and they had an amazing speaker. And this gentleman, Chris Paronto, attended Dixie State University and Mesa State College. He was Army Green Beret for 4 years and then in Army National Guard. After his enlisted time, he became a CIA contractor and is also the author of 13 Hours, which is an incredible book. And the movie, as he will tell you, is really very, very close to the events that happened in Benghazi, Libya, that cost the lives of some dear Americans. And he's also author of The Ranger Way and Living the Code and a couple of other books. I tell you what, this guy's also an incredible speaker. Chris, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thanks, Pat, man. It's an honor, brother. I remember I've been following you since your beginning days. I know I don't want to go back that far. It's not that far. I'm not saying you're that old, brother. I promise you, you're not.
Well,
You're
they had to colorize my fight films.
So when they were on the 8mm, yeah, right, whatever.
Exactly.
So, but back in the day when you didn't matter the weight class, man. You guys just used to get in there. So I really am honored, man. I appreciate you and you saying those nice things about me, but they're all lies. Every one of them is a lie. I'm a 5'2" weenie. And my wife can kick my butt, which is actually the truth. That is actually the truth. So
Well,
we'll leave it at that.
Smart man.
I met your wife and your little son at the event, and your wife looks like she could probably throw most of us around pretty easily. She's a strong. You can tell she does a lot of working out.
Yeah, she does. Actually, I met her. I was at grad school at University of Nebraska at Omaha, and I met her. She was an All-American volleyball player there. She actually was a Division II Player of the Year, athlete, and I played football in college, so it was kind of before I went into service, and it just kind of clicked. So yeah, she still stays in shape quite a bit, works out a ton, and looks great. That's one of our 3 kids. She has 3 kids, and well, we do, I should say. She had them though, so it's hers. They are. She had to squeeze those suckers out. So believe me. I appreciate that because she does. She really runs the show and takes care of me and has put up with me since I was in the Rangers all the way through till my contracting days. And she was the first person I called after the event when I could call on the airfield. There's a scene in the movie with John Krasinski calling, and talking to his wife. I mean, that really encompasses all of us that called our wives and said, "Hey, this is us." And I remember I just said, "Hey, this is me. Hey, you're going to see something on the news. I can't talk about it. I'm fine. Yeah, we lost a couple of buddies. That's all I can say right now because they were still tracking our phones. We weren't safe yet. So it was like being brief on a cell phone out, and then I talked to her again when I was in Germany. So she's been through a lot.
Yeah, no, without a doubt. And, for me, I remember I've always, tried to keep up on the news for what spin they're trying to sell us on. And I tell you what, I was instantly furious because I knew it was a lie when Obama and Hillary Clinton stood in front of those caskets of those fallen heroes and Ambassador Chris Stevens. And I tell you what, they lied to the families, they lied to America, and they said that this was because of a YouTube video. And I said, this is impossible. And it was disgusting. And I can't believe the rest of America didn't see right through it and freak out like I did. Unfortunately, a lot of people are pretty sold on the mainstream media being the authoritarians and the authority on the truth, which we know that they're not. So if we could,
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Pat. Go ahead.
Well,
no, to me, it's easier that way. It's easier for people to think that than to see the truth, because the truth you have to, if you believe in a paradigm, it's gonna screw that paradigm up. If you believe something else, it's easier to follow along with the pop culture and mainstream media. It's more enjoyable life that way than actually see the truth. And then also it to me, when you see somebody out there that you believe is your leader should be in charge, and you find that they have no moral compass at all, what do? People have so much of a hard time thinking that they're wrong, or believing that they're wrong,
right.
or believing maybe they believe in something that they shouldn't have, and say, hey, you know what, I'm wrong, I made a mistake. People can't make mistakes anymore. If they do, it's somebody else's fault, and that was the case right there. But the world saw it, and the world continues to see it, because you still see our false leaderships out there making mistakes, and the media pushes it the other way, and it's just a smoke and mirrors, and people just can't deal with it. So they just say, you know what, this person is a terrible person, needs to be in prison. And it just doesn't happen. And I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent. I'm sorry. I get
that's all right.
Up,
that's all right. We're here to listen to you. And our Jeff and my bullshit radars are pretty good at detecting stanky feces. And it's certainly, our radar certainly went off when Obama and Hillary stood in front of those caskets and lied to the people. So what I want to do is, I was amazed with you giving the details of that night in Benghazi, Libya, and how you were held back and told you couldn't go for almost a half an hour. And then you finally went, and you talked about the guy that was your faux leader at the time, that was State Department. And he was being told by the State Department to hold you guys back and not let you go, correct?
Well, at that point in time, actually, he was our CIA chief of base. We actually had two. If your people read the book, you'll see that people that read the book, they'll see that we actually had a team leader, Roan, the SEAL team Roan. He was our SEAL Team 6. Tyrone passed away that night. He really was our leader, but he was in effect on paper our assistant team leader, because he was a contractor. We had a staffer that was a former Secret Service agent that no military experience. He was our actual team leader. I'd worked with him before in Afghanistan. I'd worked with him before in Mosul. I worked with him in Kabul and Mosul before, and no military experience at all. He was one of those guys that just, if he just shut your mouth, and he's just like, dude, shut your mouth, just stay out of our way, just do the paperwork, go talk on the same time, let us do our thing. But he wasn't an operator by any means. Then we had the chief of base, Bob, who was I think we portrayed him actually, and he is in the movie, portrayed him stronger than what he actually was in real life. He was just a weenie. Well, both of those guys are who were taking their commands from the CIA personnel, and quite possibly all the way up to Patrick Kennedy and Charlie Lamb. I don't know for sure in that aspect. I know the military was. We had basically two stand-downs. But at the beginning, it was a CIA call. Do I think that beginning one was facetious, or did they just, hey, we're going to let these guys die? I really don't. I do believe that really they were out of their element. Their leadership capabilities were completely in disarray, and they just made a bad call. Which in essence, when I talk about leadership, when I talk about Benghazi that night, I talk about bottom-up leadership. Sometimes leaders need to know when they're completely out of their element. And you got to turn to your subordinates and say, hey, you know what? I don't know what the hell I'm doing. You guys have more experience in this than I do. You guys need to take over. But their pride would not let them do that. And that's really what caused that 30-minute delay. And that was complete. And that goes back to today's society. Again, complete pride. I don't want to admit that I'm wrong. I don't know what I'm doing. And in this case, because they didn't want to admit they were wrong, they didn't know what the hell they were doing. You had 6 guys that were, and I hate to use the word subject matter experts, because I don't believe you're an expert in anything. Anybody's an expert in anything. You can be very good at something, but let's just put it, we had a lot more experience in that in that sort of in combat and security than they did. Instead of turning it over to us and saying, hey guys, take it from here, they just held on to it until it was like you guys just basically locked up. You guys went in the black, the Colonel Cooper's color codes, you went in the black, you don't know what the hell you're doing. They shut down. Okay, guys, we got to take over now. By that time, 30 minutes had gone by. Now, the military stand down, people don't realize that. There was a military stand down as well. That was the one that hurt us. that one, and again, I do believe Ambassador Stevens and Sean Smith would still be alive if we had left in 5 minutes instead of 30. Yeah, a couple of us might have died. That's our job. That's what we're supposed to do. I remember I even said that to Congress when they asked me, you guys could have died if you would have left earlier. Well, that was our job, you idiots.
Well, Chris, let me ask you. I don't mean to interrupt. How abnormal was that to get a stand down order from the military like that?
It is completely abnormal. Normally, and I talked a little bit about this. I have a third book coming out. I talk about this a little bit, where we had a military intelligence group that was getting hemmed up in Afghanistan, and before the word go was even we had 4 cars launching out of the gate to go help them, and then we get our orders on the fly on the radio. To sit there and wait, completely abnormal. And for the military to not come, that is completely abnormal as well. That's why there was other things going on for us to hold, and something that doesn't happen on any kind of basis, that has never happened in my and I had been deploying for 10, 11 years at that point. That had never happened ever in 11 years of going overseas. That's the first time and only time that I have ever been, and I've known that has happened, where State Department told the military listened, the military stood down, and also our own CIA personnel told us to not go. Normally we are in control. GRS, Global Response Staff, we are out the gate getting orders on the fly where we're heading in the direction to help whoever needs help. And it doesn't matter if it's State Department, doesn't matter if it's DOD, doesn't matter if it's an American civilian, doesn't matter if it's an Afghani police force. We are going to help. And
do you care to speculate?
I know of that happened.
Do you care to speculate why that might have occurred that night?
Well, I don't even know if I'm really speculating anymore. Brother, we shouldn't have been in Libya. We were helping move weapons to Syria.
Right.
And now to say that Ambassador Stevens was going to spill the beans, that is somewhere I would have to speculate. Did Ambassador Stevens know? Was he going to spill the beans? Was he part of that? Was he not? Did he not agree with it anymore? That I don't know. But to know why we were just left out to dry, yeah, because we shouldn't have been in Libya in the first place. Gaddafi wasn't a threat. We were in Libya to facilitate the overthrow of Bashir, Bashir Assad?
Bashar al-Assad, yeah.
There in Syria, yeah, and it was to get the weapons from Gaddafi's arms over to the Libyan rebels, which in Obama's smart plan, those Libyan rebels, and the Syrian rebels, they weren't rebels, they weren't militias, they were the terrorists. We got attacked by their own weapons. We were giving them to them. Ansar Sharia is who we were giving weapons to. It was complete. It was ridiculous. Think of Fast and Furious in Libya. That's basically what it was. Fast and Furious in Libya.
And we talk about that all the time on the show. I mean, you might know some of the nomenclature we've heard is Operation Gladio B, of basically utilizing these proxy forces to destabilize certain areas in the world. And I'm glad to hear you really say that, because Pat and I have kind of theorized, we've seen certain reports, et cetera, that how we have kind of funded some of these certain proxy armies. But to hear you say it really puts a stamp of approval on it. And it's really just so unfortunate, man, because this is what's really dictated our foreign policy, is this war on terror. And we've asked other former SEALs, like, how do you guys feel about it, man? How do you know who the freaking enemy is?
Well, you don't until they shoot at you. And that, if you guys have if you've been doing your due diligence and doing your homework, you also saw, I think it was the year after Libya, we had Special Forces militia shooting on ground branch CIA militias. Our own militias, that one branch was supporting, and the other branch was supporting. Wow. So we had DOD militias on one side in Syria, CIA militias with the ground branch guys on the other side. They ended up getting in firefights on each other in Syria because there was no communication. We had no clue what was going on. Wow. They still have no clue really what's going on. It's so with you guys saying you're not speculating. You're right on. And maybe I'll get a Hellfire missile coming to my house because I'm saying this now.
Well,
but I don't care. It's the truth. It's the God honest truth.
Right, and we talked. There's been documents that have been released showing that Hillary Clinton's State Department was arming ISIS, and we know where a lot of the funding came from, moving heroin and all of that sort of stuff. We've got plenty of that inside baseball information, and like Jeff said, to have you confirm it is really important. But the particulars we're going to pick through as far as the political side of it and all that sort of stuff as we're doing. But I think what's really important is for our fans and our listeners out there who are really going to be enthralled with, you just telling, if you want to abbreviate it, obviously, because of time constraints. Sure. But I think it's important for every American to hear this story, to see this movie, but to hear your voice Talk about this attack when you guys got there, got on site, and had to work your way in there and getting over walls and all the other stuff just to get in there. That's a hell of a night, buddy.
You know, when I remember me and Boone talked about it when we got back, and it's like, gosh, we really got it. I mean, you get to do everything on an op that you want, but really all your training that night came together. Now we've done other trainings and things, other ops were, yes, parts of this, pieces of this, but it really was, hey, we had to assault on foot. We had less guys than I would say 10 times, if not more, less than the enemy force. You know, we had to, assault through backyards. We had to also drive part of the way there, so we're utilizing our vehicles as well. Then we had to do a PRE mission, a principal rescue and evacuation mission of 6 people. Then we had to hunker down and fight, do some, fire-based stuff. So we had to actually sit there and control our own base and repel attackers. And then we got hit by mortars. And so we had to deal with that. Then we had to communicate with local militias, just trying to find who our friendlies were. The only thing that we didn't do that night was call in air support, because State Department in their great wisdom decided not to send us any air support, even though we were perfectly capable to call in air support, because that was what we had done in our past lives. And I actually I still was teaching that at Blackwater when I was home. So no, it really is the beginning of the night to assaulting, just taking the 30 minutes. People don't realize it takes so much time to take ground back once you lose it. And we had completely lost the initiative by the time we left, because we waited 30 minutes. And they did. Ansar Sharia and Al-Qaeda and the Maghreb did just what we would have done. They took the consulate. They put some defenses down. So we had to assault that thing with 6 guys. And we ended up splitting. And I remember me and Boone decided to take the hard way, which was jumping over the walls and just going through backyards. If people that have been in the Middle East, you guys that have been there, have been in the Middle East or North Africa, know that every yard has basically their own compound. They're 8-foot high block walls surrounding each backyard. So you're going over every wall. You're just making sure that, and you're praying that when you climb over that wall, if you can't find a hole through it, preferably you want to go through a hole or through a gate. You don't want to climb over the top, because you can't hide every piece of your body when you're climbing over the top. But just for the sake of trying to get there, because we'd already been delayed, we ended up climbing over the majority of those walls. And I tell you what, it just is going back and thinking, man, you're tired. I'm in my 40s at that point. And I remember, and I like to point this out because I think it says a lot for the SOCOM guys, the special op guys, SEALs, combat controllers, Air Force, pararescue, Rangers, so forth. You think back, like, man, I've done this. I've done harder stuff than this. And it becomes that mind over matter stuff. And I know, Pat, you with your training, you know that your body stops. Your body will continue to go. Your mind is going to get it to quit. And that's where it was, okay, I can continue to do this. And you just continue to will yourself, and you keep pushing, and you're getting on that objective and fighting them off for an hour and a half, and then realizing, hey, there is a drone. Guys, people that don't know that the movie's spot on, that we had a drone early on. That drone everybody was seeing that drone feed from about 11:45 the rest of the night. And it was telling us to get back to the consulate because it was going to get overrun, and we had to get back. And then we ended up getting in 3 more firefights from right around 12:30 on to about 5 a.m. And that's when the mortars hit us. And we had nothing for that. We couldn't defend the mortars. We were lucky they stopped. If they would have kept mortaring us because they were fire for effect, they would have just decimated. They would have killed us all. We had no way to take that. Wow. But because, and I didn't get into this at that speech there, Pat, but that militia that escorted Bub's team in from Tripoli, Glenn passed away that night. He was a SEAL Team 3 guy. Glenn's team, they were Omar Gaddafi's militia. That was the ironic thing of that night. That initial escort of Bub's team in, that escorted our friendlies in, the 2 Delta guys, the 3 other GRS guys, that militia belonged to Omar Gaddafi, and the militia that took out that mortar team for us belonged to Omar Gaddafi, and the militia that came in that I didn't know was friendly or foe, that I was at sphincter factor 10 when I didn't know if they were going to shoot me with that disc or not, that belonged to Omar Gaddafi. To me, right there, don't tell me we went in there to overthrow Omar Gaddafi when he was the guy. Essentially, he has saved us the rest of the night. Omar Gaddafi's militia. And I didn't touch on that at the SEAL thing. I just didn't really get into it too much because I didn't want to get too. That wasn't a political thing.
Right.
That was, hey, let's raise money. But those militias all belong to Omar Gaddafi.
Yeah,
and
because
they got us to there.
Because that, obviously that Thank the SEALs thing, you're right. It was about something obviously different. But the political side of things, anybody who's ever dug into why these dictators are being taken out. I mean, Gaddafi was taken out because he had planned on creating the dinar as the
there you go.
That was going to be used to purchase his oil. So he had to go because the petrodollar was going to suffer because of that. So he's a dead man right away, right?
Yeah, bro. People need to dig into that more. I'm glad you said that because that was one of the main reasons why. We went into Iraq to control the oil and money. It was that that is more a Libya definition of why we went into Libya more than anything else. So that, and then the weapons movement is because Omar Gaddafi was going to cut out everybody else and get his own currency and buy his own oil and shut the rest of the world out, and they couldn't have that.
Well, Chris, what do you think about even like some of the stuff we hear about now? We're going into possibly Venezuela or Iran.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on what the public perception is of why we go into these wars and the real reason why we go into these conflicts? And then you guys have to go over there and fight and possibly die. And I obviously respect the service like a champ. There's no question about that. But sometimes I don't respect the war necessarily because it's always, not always, but so often under these dubious illegal
circumstances. Young men off to die, man.
Thank you, exactly. And we fall for it every time. Like here we are going into Iran possibly or Venezuela. It's always about natural resources or regime change or whatever.
It really is. I'll be honest. I didn't think we should have went into Iraq. Guys may hate me for that. I know I have my best friends think, we had WMDs. We may have. I know they found mustard. I think some of that got moved into Syria. Did I have a problem going into Iraq though to fight terror? No, I didn't. I think 9 out of 10 guys you ask that go and fight wars, they will never going to tell you, I'm doing it because my president's telling me to. Right. I'm doing it because the politicians are telling me to. Or we're doing it, and I'm going to put it point blank, we do it because we enjoy it. We like it. We enjoy the adrenaline. We like getting over there and being with our buddies. We love, and you do. I always said I am my best person when I am overseas because I have no outside distractions. There's no, and I have a beautiful wife. But I haven't always been the greatest man. I haven't always been the greatest husband. We've been divorced twice. But when I'm overseas, my focus is God, take care of me. This is my job. This is my brother. I'm going to make sure he gets home to his family. I'm going to do my damnedest to get home to my family. I love them more than anything in the world, and I just love this adrenaline. I love it. Now, guys may think of other things. That is my thing, but I'm never going to say I'm here because and of course, you're there to protect the sovereignty of the United States because I want people back in the States to enjoy the freedoms that they've continually enjoyed that you don't see in all these third world countries. You don't. That being said, Iran. Go ahead. No, I was saying with Iran and Afghanistan, Iran is a threat to our sovereignty. I really believe that, and we allowed that. They have the ability to get a nuclear weapon, and guys, the damn Islamists, they are crazy enough to blow up the entire world just to destroy the infidel. They really are. I've seen and that's the Islamists. Don't go all crazy out there. I have fought alongside Muslims, guys. I love guys that are Muslim brothers who's fought alongside me, but the Islamists, the hardcore radicals, yes, they will. And I believe that the mullah over there in Iran, I do believe they're that way off that they would nuke the whole Western United States to get what they want. I do believe that we've let that go though. We could have stopped it a long time ago. Venezuela, really? Venezuela's a threat? I'm with you on the natural resources, guys. Do we really need to go into Venezuela?
Right.
I think we have enough of our own resources. So Iran would be, because I do really believe they are a threat to our sovereignty now. We have let that boil fester and fester and fester under the Obama administration, that specifically those 8 years, and then even before that. But just that primarily, that they could be a threat to the United States of America. If they are a threat to our sovereignty, hell yeah, we're getting in there.
And people wonder how Iran got more uranium. Well, look no further than Hillary Clinton's Uranium One deal with the Soviets. I lose my mind trying to explain this to people, and I want to beat my face on a table because that was the channel how they got it.
Brother, it's exactly how they got it. And then it's the deals that we had with them. Hey guys, don't build any more. Don't build any more of your nuclear facilities. Don't you try to get any more weapons grade uranium, because if you do, we're going to tell you not to do it anymore. That doesn't work. We have let this exacerbate into where now it could become a full-fledged World War III, and now we're going to blame it on the current president. Now, he inherited this mess. And, I'm telling you people this because like I said, 10, almost 11 years fighting this war on terror and watching that Iranian and when you're overseas, you actually even see it from a different perspective, because you're seeing it from different points of view from the media, because you're seeing a lot of the Islam. I tried to watch a lot of the Islam news that I could, just to get a different viewpoint of it. But you're also, you hear the scuttlebutt, and you hear with your locals that you're working with of how bad Iran is or how bad the Saudis are. And they don't get that over here in the United States. So I know that. I should say I know. You don't know anything. I'm not an expert, but
right.
my gut is just, man, we let that Iran regime get to where it is now, and if we don't stop it, yes, the sovereignty, the United States of America itself could be nuked by an Iran regime, and they wouldn't lose any sleep in the world doing it.
Well, and at very least, Israel is certainly very vulnerable, and Israel in our minds has also, been culpable in causing an awful lot of problems, between their Mossad and how to think that Mossad isn't stirring up the pot and funding terrorists also and doing a lot of other shit. They're doing the same stuff with Israel and a lot of others. But it is important, I think, during this episode, like you mentioned, to say, look, you're a guy who witnessed it. You had a lot of great Muslims fighting alongside of you and dying, fighting against these terrorists, fighting against these people that are funded, unfortunately, by Western nations, including us. Those people are innocent. I mean, the guy that lives right across the street from me is an orthopedic surgeon from, I won't say his name, but he's an incredible guy. He fixed my wife's shoulder. He's from Afghanistan, and I love the guy to death. And he's as American as anybody as I've ever seen. And in the end, we have to be able to figure out how to stop this scourge of this terrorism. And it comes down to the funding. And what I said to a media person one time when I got a chance to talk to him, who's a pretty big name media person, I said, why don't you report on who's doing the banking for the ISIS oil transactions when they got a hold of the refineries? If you did that, then I'd actually believe you were telling me the truth, because I know you're not.
What? Tell me, what did he say? Did he have an answer for it? I want to know what he said.
He didn't say a word. He looked at me like a deer in the headlights, because I knew he was full of shit.
Because then we come back again to this paradigm. You just challenged his paradigm. Even if he did know, he's not going to say anything, because whoever media that he works for is going to go against the political opponent, the political person that he supports, which they're part of that and they're culpable with it as well. And it's just a vicious cycle, brother.
Yeah.
But the only thing we can do is just be like you, and even like myself, every once in a while when I have my head screwed on straight, which is about half the time, and say, this is what's going on, guys. This is you got to start listening to. But we have said, or blue in the face, don't believe the media. I'll tell people out there again, don't believe the mainstream media. Turn that stuff off. They're fear-mongering you. They're feeding you a line to push you to their viewpoint to vote for that political candidate, because that's the pop culture thing now to do. Geez, being in office is like being in Hollywood now. It's turn that off. Turn it off, and just start using your common sense. And people don't use that. People don't use that anymore.
Absolutely.
Well, even going back to the paradigm shift, not only is so much of this real news, if you will, shifting people's paradigm, it then baits the question, because people have so much ego in how they see the world. It's like, man, no one could ever play me or lie mean. But when they realize they've been played, it then baits the question, what now am I going to do about it? And no one really has an answer for that question, because it's always, you can't fight City Hall, and well, there's no accountability then if a lot of these things are just allowed to persist. And like you said, it's just the same thing, just different day.
Same thing over. You said it better than I did. You really did. That seems all you can do is, and that's why I think coming out with Benghazi and us saying that initially, I think it pulled the curtain back for a lot of people. Say, wait a second. And this stuff like Benghazi, granted, being left behind, no, I don't think that has happened quite a few bit, up to that point. But being lied to, especially in combat operations by the U.S. government, is happening for years. Now, some of these knuckleheads, these contractors, stood up and said, you know what? Bullshit. That's not what happened. I think that started to pull the curtain back, and now media even got more vicious, because now they're holding on. They're like, wait a second, we could lie frivolously, and nobody would say a word.
Exactly.
And now we got guys that are actually downrange coming back and saying, nope, that didn't happen. Nope, you're full of crap on that. Nope, you're full of crap on that. And now they're even digging in even more. So I think the best thing we can do is guys is ones that when they are downrange or something happens, or they're part of even a DC, and it could sacrifice. They got to jump on. Basically, you got to jump on the grenade, and you got to jump on the grenade. You do it, because that's the only way that we're going to keep these media people and continue to try to keep them accountable. But you're right. The mainstream media is getting worse and worse. There's just the racist thing. Everybody's a racist now. Yeah. That's fear mongering. No, we aren't. No, we aren't. Stop it.
And here's the beautiful thing. Here's the beautiful thing that about what just happened. And this isn't going off on a tangent, because it brings me back to a bigger point. Is that Jeff, my co-host, and I, since the beginning of this show, we've been telling people that our government, our State Department, was funding ISIS and funding al-Nusra and other terrorist organizations, in Africa and the Middle East, and we were laughed at. We were laughed at by the vast majority of people, and it's all basically come true, and everybody's realizing it. But even those very stubborn people that won't accept it, just got red-pilled by Jeffrey Epstein committing suicide in a federal prison. And this is all breaking out. And we told everybody he was a dead man. But the beautiful thing is I had a guy make me a meme, and you're going to love this, Chris. It was a giant wave crashing over a concrete barrier and heading towards a bunch of fleeing people. And on the wave, it said Epstein's suicide. On the wall, it says mainstream media. And on all the people, it says red-pilled Americans.
That's spot. You got to send me that one. I saw another one with the Rocky and it was Rocky Balboa and Apollo Creed, where they do that handshake and they got both muscles, and one is conservative, one is liberals, and one says both sides can agree on one thing as they're gripping each other's hands with their muscles. Epstein's suicide is a bunch of it's spot up, brother. How much more obvious can you get that is the most corrupt family in the world right there, that there's things going on. I didn't want to believe it either. Like, no, come on. They're not killing people to get through. The Clintons, come on. No. Okay. This is too far.
If it wasn't the Clintons, which I think their body count lends itself to, it could quite possibly be this pedogate, not just Epstein. We've been talking about this for years and how deep it goes with, your city councils, your doctors, your lawyers, your federal. I mean, it's in all, Hollywood, just, it goes so deep. And so I think, people are now starting to finally possibly realize, because, I don't think we called anything as far as him killing himself. We knew it. The guy knew way too much to be allowed to live. And it happened just like clockwork. And, the cameras didn't work. All these horseshit stories about getting to the real bottom of it. He's on suicide watch, but he dies of suicide. It's always fascinating.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, everything. Why couldn't this be about? Why couldn't we have any video on this? We have plenty of video about Benghazi, why that was caused.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
Nope, we don't got any video about Epstein.
Yeah.
I completely agree with you. I was, and this is me, my paradigm being challenged. I was one of those guys like, nah, come on, that's too much House of Cards. That's TV stuff. But now that this has happened,
yeah.
I'm like, you know what? I'm wrong. My paradigm has been challenged, and my paradigm is wrong. This is going on. This is not a coincidence anymore.
It's art imitating life. People talk about Game of Thrones. I'm a big history guy. You go back to ancient Rome, ancient Greece. This is how, politics is power, and they do anything to protect it.
Now the question is, how do we stop it?
Exactly. We say all the time, the only time you can really change anything is to recognize that there's a problem. So like you just said a while ago, people have to unplug from the mainstream media. It's not there to inform at all. Going back to, like we said, end of World War II and Operation Mockingbird, how the narrative on news has been controlled forever, and it continues. And like you said, it's all, now we've said this. I think personally they're gearing us up for some kind of, I don't want to call it Civil War II, but more and more political violence we're going to be seeing. And it's all going to be on these racial levels, ethnic levels, religious levels, gay, sex orientation levels, political levels. I mean, they need us all fighting. And they, even this Clinton thing with Epstein, it was like Trump killed him. No, Hillary Clinton killed him. Like, we didn't talk about Pedogate. The essence of it, we're arguing about who we think killed him, as if that matters.
I'm completely with you on that. I'm with you that talking about it and coming back to it and saying, you know what, we recognize everybody's got to believe that this is not a coincidence anymore, that this guy just did not commit suicide. There is something shady going on within the political realm. I recognize it now, and I you know, it's funny that I recognize it now that I don't watch any more news. I don't watch. I'll be honest, I don't even watch Fox anymore, guys. And I have friends at Fox. That was they were a big supporter.
We don't unless we want to learn the false narrative.
Well, you don't. And now your eyes are opening up. So I'm great. Turn on, listen to the little podcast. I get better news from podcasts. Get better information from the smaller entities. Not calling you guys, but not the Fox level stuff, not the CNN level stuff.
Right.
And then also just now sitting back and watching and taking it all in, and just like, okay, my common sense is slowly coming back now that it wasn't zapped by the mainstream media.
And this is the age of information, so now people can go do their homework. They can hear us talk about this, go research Benghazi from someone who was there, or Gulf of Tonkin, or whatever it is that you want to talk about. To see, we talk about all the time that there's always been this, for decades, going back, a very long time, this black underground economy of trading in guns and people and body parts and arms. I mean, this is that shadow government or whatever that people just don't want to believe exists. And the pedo stuff, and like I said, human body parts and children, it's a big part of it, man.
Well, and why do you think the news anchors, the mainstream news anchors at ABC, NBC, CBS, and CNN, and all the others that are big time, why do you think it takes $20 million a year to pay them to sit up there and lie? I mean, it's going to take $20 million for me to do that because I won't be able to sleep at night, but at least my kids will have a nice life after I shoot myself in the face.
Cognitive dissonance and rationalization. If you can manage those two or master those two things, you can put a price on your integrity all day and all night. I have a problem with that still. I still can't.
Yeah.
I can't do that. I can't. It would have been so much easier. Again, it would have been easier. And I think I was sitting when I was talking to you and the Master Chief. I can't remember his name, but the guy that he was a Master Chief of SEAL teams, and now he teaches the Halo. Yeah, I thought about it. I don't know if I would speak out again, just because I missed my job so much. But there's a sacrifice you have to make to and it was hard decision to make, but it was something that was necessary because I'm like, I cannot sit back here and let them do this again. Let them change the narrative. And the rest of the team, I'm glad I had the rest of the team, because if it was just me, I may have just said, no, I'm going to keep working. It's not that important. I got it. Right. But I have five other guys with me that were backing each other up. And I do think we made the right decision. But would I make that decision again if we're put in that situation, just knowing now what I don't know.
Well, and especially, man, what frustrates the hell out of us on this show is the lack of accountability. And I have to ask you, as someone who was directly involved in this, how crazy did it drive you when you heard Hillary Clinton, when she was being deposed, basically snapping at the people? Like, at this point, what difference does it make?
Right.
Just completely trying to wash her hands of the horrible shit she did.
I remember seeing that. Actually, we were out. Everybody knew who myself, Oz, and Tig were. I think we had already been out, and we'd been on the Bret Baier show, and the movie. We were working on the movie, and I heard that. I thought about Pat Smith, John Smith's mom, and I thought about Cheryl. I thought about Ty's dad, and I thought about them watching that, and I thought about my mom watching that and be like, holy. Right. Basically, she just said that their lives aren't worth a shit. What difference does it make that we lost these Americans? What difference does it make that we lost? And I called my mom. I said, "Did you see that?" And my mom went off. Like, I can't believe that woman, because that woman said that. It's about basically she does not care about any of the other people's children, because she doesn't care about what, because it didn't make a difference. What difference does it make? It makes a huge difference, because sons and daughters died. Sons and daughters died. and now you're lying about it. And now you're lying about it and grandstanding in front of Congress when you can't answer the questions. And it sickened me to the core. And actually that helped my resolve, because I was getting tired of speaking, and I just said, you know what, hell with it. And I just started speaking more and more and more out there and I was on the road. I probably was gone dang near 8 months out of the next 12, just like I was deployed, just speaking. It made me sick to my stomach. I do believe I went on both Fox, and I think even on CNN International, RTV. They had Russian TV, was RTV. Yeah. I was on Newsmax. I mean, I did it all. And that is the most disgusting, vile thing that that any woman or any person could say, because you just basically said that their children, Sean wasn't worth it. Chris and Master Stevens, their life wasn't worth it. Ty's life wasn't worth it. Bub's life wasn't worth anything, because it didn't make a difference one way or the other. Right. Where every life overseas that's serving makes a difference. Yeah, it pissed me off, to say the least, but it also sickened me. And you know, I did. I realized I called my mom, and I wanted to get her opinion. My mom's pretty level-headed. My mom is, and I wanted to get all you out there, I wanted to get a woman's opinion, a mom's opinion on what just happened, because her son was involved, and made my mom sicker, and I think it made me, and it pissed her off more than it pissed me off.
I mean, I was infuriated. I wasn't even involved, and I was like, how did somebody? I mean, I know she's the worst of the worst, and then she has the nerve to go and run for
most evil human on the planet.
Then she goes and runs for president. I'm like, wow, dude, you have no shame whatsoever.
What I really want to do, Chris, I really want to, just because I know we've taken you probably longer than we should have, but I really want our listeners to hear, you know, there was a ton of acts of heroism during this whole evening, this 13 hours of hell that you guys went through. But the moment you talked about, and I can't remember the details off the top of my head of who was giving who CPR. I mean, the person was.
Yeah, you know.
If you could tell that part of the story, so people understand what true heroism is, to bring somebody back, as far as the person that was still alive, not the person that was dead that was getting CPR, but the other people.
Well, and that's the amazing things you see. You see the normal acts of heroism. Guys running towards gunfire, Tig getting up on the rooftop when mortars are still fire for effect, and he's getting up there no matter what, even though the mortars are going to come raining down on him, to see who's alive. You see Tyrone before he got blown up, just hammering guys, knowing those mortars are danger close. They're coming in danger close, and he's staying in his ground, just making sure nobody comes over that back gate. But you know, that there was no fire involved, but you know, Jack over there, after we repelled the attack it was the second attack that we repelled at the consulate, and this is early on in the night. And you know, I remember and watching Boone, level-headed Boone, and those that know Boone, if you haven't, I'll tell you, Boone, Dave Benton Boone. He was a Marine State Platoon. He was a sniper, the most level-headed guy I know. He started with me as a contractor at Blackwater. We started together in 2003, and I deployed with him in two other areas of operations on several deployments in Iraq and Afghanistan. But him coming and angry and just livid and just pissed off, saying, God, if he just would have let us leave on time, you know. And so I'm already getting built up. I'm thinking, oh my God, something happened. What happened? And I know he's angry. So it's really serious, because he doesn't get angry. So when he's getting angry, now I know, this is really bad. So I'm in knots, and me saying, hey dude, what happened? And keep in mind, we had already just repelled an attack. So our adrenaline is crazy high. And what happened? And him saying, we lost one. You know, I still remember vividly him saying, we lost one. And you think just have lost one. Oh crap! And then your head going, oh okay. All your buddies' pictures, their faces, and then him saying, I said to him, who'd we lose? And he said, the IT guy. Now I couldn't remember, and I remember I said that, and I always say this because I still feel bad. I couldn't remember who that was when he said it initially. It felt like 5 minutes. It probably was 5 seconds. I couldn't remember who the IT guy was, and then it just hit me like, oh crap, that's Sean Smith. And so Boone, I get Boone back. All he does to get him back, because he's level-headed, is I just give him, he's a sergeant in the Corps. I give him the knife hand. I just say, Sergeant, and his eyes come back. So he's back in it. He's back calm. He's back to the Boone I know. He can handle himself. He always can. And I go to the front of the compound, and I see Jack Silva. Jack, for those who have watched the movie, John Krasinski played Jack Silva in the movie, the real Jack Silva. And I love watching the movie because Jack and John Krasinski actually look dang near alike. But I remember seeing Jack Silva, and he's doing chest compressions over Sean's body. And you're looking, and Sean is dead. Sean's died of smoke inhalation. Jack and Dave Ubben, who did very well that night, State Department officer, and Ty had managed to get him out of there. They were pulling him out of the window. He's dead. Now when they put him on the ground, Scott Wickland, who was the ambassador's body man, who lost control of the ambassador, but he got out, and saved his own life, but had got out, was sitting on a set of steps right next to Jack and Sean's dead body, lifeless body. And you can see him going into shock. And when somebody goes into shock, it's different for everybody. You see their eyes; they just kind of gloss over. He's rocking back and forth. The movie's actually pretty good, pretty accurate as far as what Sean was doing, what Scott was doing. Scott was rocking back and forth, going, "He was just with me. He was just with me." And I'm watching all this, and then I see Jack doing the chest compressions, and I look up at Scott, and I look Jack, and I look at Scott, and they're talking to each other. And Jack says to Scott, "Dude, stay with me, man. We're still in this fight. Stay with me. Stay with me." And I got the hugest grin on my face because I was just amazed at just watching Jack. He's looking at a dead body. Now, I don't know what demons go through Jack's head, but he's doing chest compressions on a dead body to get Scott back in the fight. Because if Scott goes into shock, we have 6 guys. That's it. We have a dead body. If Scott goes into shock, that takes 3 of us out of the fight. That's the math you do. An injured person takes 3 able bodies out of a fight, and that is usually right. But we're already strained thin. Now we are combat ineffective. And I remember just smiling and thinking to myself, and I do remember I looked up and I just thanked God for putting me. I'm like, thank you for putting me in this situation. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be with this team. And just watching Jack and smiling at him as he is just sacrificing his own mental state for the rest of his life to get Scott out of shock. And then I see Tyrone come, and Tyrone's a big dude. Tyrone, he did look like a Leonidas from 300. Tyrone was Jack, and Tyrone puts his big arm, big paw on Scott's shoulders and says, "Man, we're still in this fight. You got to stay with us. It's still early. We're still in this fight." And just watching that scene, and I can still see it, and I still get chills thinking about it. I'm still smiling when I talk about it because I'm just watching it in awe, going, "How lucky am I to be here? How lucky am I to be in this situation here?" And, that's why when people talk about Benghazi and they say it's conspiracy, or they say it's politically driven, or they say, you know what, politics had everything to do about Benghazi, that really didn't happen. It pisses me off because of things that I saw like that night. And that is just one thing that I saw that night that just was amazing to me, that showed the human spirit and showed complete heroism, complete forsaking somebody's own mental state to help somebody else, sacrifice, the really pinnacle of John 15:13, one of those things that it just sticks with me, and it makes me think, man, I wish I could go back to that night. I wish I could go back and be there right then, right there, because of the feeling of how good you get of being with guys that you don't get that feeling anywhere else. You don't get that anywhere else but in that situation right there. And just being in sheer amazement of watching how great human beings can be, even when there's death involved. It was just amazing. And I know I get pumped up thinking about it. Just God,
I can only
how
imagine.
Awesome are we?
And that's the thing is, listening to that though, it makes a civilian realize why having our level of friendship and brotherhood with our buddies in high school and college, and even look, I had a great bond, an incredible bond with the athletes that I coached and trained with for a lot of years, but that's not life-threatening situations. You're not in war. It's a whole different level of bonding that you guys obviously go through, and none of us, are going to experience anything like that, just because of the nature of the intensity of what you guys had to go through.
Well, and that's just one of those things, I guess, just being lucky. People think being unlucky. I feel I just was very lucky. Because I had other 9.5, close to 10 other years where it was very just minor stuff. This and that. That is complete. That that scene right there, I didn't experience that all the time, but to be able
Right.
to experience even just one time, that scene right there was amazing. To be able to be at the point in my career where I could just take a step back and I could calm myself down. The adrenaline didn't overtake me, where I could actually watch it and take it all in. Where if it would have happened early in my career, I probably wouldn't have been able to really enjoy that whole scene, because the adrenaline I would have been going crazy. I'd have been just completely unable to handle the adrenaline, where in that point in my career, I'd been through it. So I'd been through adrenaline filled, and I'm not Sergeant York by any means. There's guys that have done a hell of a lot more than I have, but been through enough adrenaline related experiences that I could just take a step back and just watch it for a second and be like, and just take it all in.
Yeah.
And that is amazing. That's what I miss. I miss all that just being able to take all that in, and it's just a whole different world. The world just opens up. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And now, so I had to get that out of you, man, because that was such an incredible story. Thank you for taking the time to talk about it. And before we let you go, look, dude, anything that you want to pump, obviously we want everybody that listens to the Conspiracy Farm all around the world, to get, your book, 13 Hours by Chris Paronto. We want them to get the movie 13 Hours and watch it, because it truly depicts what went down that evening. And is there anything else that you'd like to talk about, a website or speaking engagements that you have coming up, stuff like that you want to pump up?
Well, I have a website, ChrisTanoParonto.com, and it's spelled with a K. My name's KRISTANTO, Paronto, PARONTO. I mean, .net, not .com. I'm sorry, .net. I do have a third book coming out. I was asked to write. 13 Hours was myself. I didn't write it. It was just me. It was my teammates as well. And then Mitchell Zukoff came in and helped us. Because when you have SEALs and Marines and Rangers trying to write a book, it turns into a coloring book and a pop-up book. So you actually have to have an author come in there and fix it for you to get it where it needs to be. But, the Ranger Way was the second one. Hachette, or Grand Central Publishing, asked me to do a third one. And I like, let's not do it on me. It's on other guys. It's actually short stories about other guys overcoming their own adversity. And it's not just combat. I got a Ranger in there that overcame alcoholism to become a Ranger. You have other things that so it can be relatable to everybody. It doesn't just have to be combat heroism. It can be, how can you overcome any sort of adversity in your life, and how guys overcame. Yes, I have a gentleman that burned in on a halo jump, a PJ that burned in, died on impact. He was pronounced dead, and then he actually rose himself. They revived him, and he became a PJ again. His name's Scotty Guerra, but then Ben Morgan.
Wait a minute.
Yeah,
so his chute didn't deploy correctly, and he died on impact?
Actually, his buddy that was above him, they were gonna hit, and his chute opened, and his buddy above him, his chute didn't open. His chute was malfunctioning, and so the guy balled up and went through Scotty's chute, causing that to be a malfunction. And Scotty burned in, and he actually on the drop zone, he died. And I'm gonna say it for you, he died, and they revived him. And it's a little bit of a story about him working his way back in to go back into the PJs. He actually worked his way back in. Yes, and then he was a contractor with Triple Canopy, and that's how I got to know him as a contractor. But there's other guys in there. Israel Matos, a Marine who was severely injured due to an IED. Ben Morgan, Ben's a Ranger buddy of mine who I knew from high school days on, who fought alcoholism, and then went and then fixed himself. When he was, honestly, I thought he was going to just drink himself to death. And there's other stories in there. So, but the third book, and it's called The Patriot's Creed. And
beautiful.
And I wanted to do it that way, Pat, just because we get the operator, and this is guys, and this is how I'm so cool, and I'm not cool. There's guys a lot cooler than me. Let's do stories. That's what I told the Hachette. There's dudes a lot cooler than me. Let's do stories about them, and just if my name helps it get out, then my name helps get them out, so people can see that there are fantastic people. Not Tano. There's guys better than me that have gone through more that people can learn from to be heroic. And it's about leading a heroic life, no matter who you are. And that's what the third book's about. And it's out in October.
Well,
and,
you guys are all our heroes. I'll tell you that right now. And that's important for people. Americans appreciate you guys an awful lot, and what you guys have had to endure. And, for all those guys out there with PTSD, that have some tough dealing with coming back to civilian life because of yeah, there's a lot of civilians back here that are unappreciative, that are idiots, that maybe piss them off at a bar or whatever. And, you come back from a combat zone and you think, just last week I was killing assholes like you and you're running your mouth. But for any guy that's, any soldier, any combat vet, anybody that's having any problems with PTSD, man, I highly urge them. We had a guy named Micah Fink, who's a former SEAL, on our show, and he runs Heroes for Horses out in Montana. And that's where they take 40 veterans who are suffering from PTSD, maybe taking psychotropic drugs and a lot of the other stuff, maybe dealing with alcoholism. And they take you out on the ranch and you train a wild Mustang on your own. That's your wild horse to train. They teach you how to train them. And then they ride them 300, 400 miles through the backcountry and the mountains. And it changes their whole life. It's I think, one of the most unique and coolest programs I've ever seen, and that's Heroes for Horses. So I don't even know if you've ever heard of that, but for anybody out there that's struggling, man, go to Heroes for Horses, Google it, look up Micah Fink, and fill out the paperwork and try and get in there, man. Because I tell you what, if I was a military veteran that was struggling, that's where I would want to be.
Dan, you're doing great things with that, Pat. I forgot. I have the 14th Hour Foundation that helps if guys need money to go to that, or if other foundations need money to help support. Just reach out to the 14th Hour Foundation, and I'll get them a grant. I just hope that recently, and I didn't, but other people did through the foundation, which is mine. Helped the Air Force vet pay 2 months of his mortgage because he was running behind.
Beautiful.
So, awesome. We always want to help each other out. So anything I can do to help out, especially with I do know the Heroes for Horses. Please let me know, Pat. You reach out to me and say this guy can't afford the airfare or this or not. Let me know, and I'll more than likely, and I'll float him money on my boat pocket if I have to.
You're awesome, dude. And look, Chris Paronto, we can't thank you enough. We've been honored that you even took the time to spend with little old me and Jeff. And
little, come on, dude, you still whoop my ass. Don't try it.
Well, look, in a caveman fight, I do all right, but when there's bullets flying, I'm hiding behind you, brother.
you got just mixed up real small, because remember I'm only 150 pounds, 5'2". I'm a little guy.
Well, if I stand sideways, then just my belly will get shot.
That's awesome. Touche. Well played, brother. Well played.
All right, man. Thank you again, Chris. You have a great night with your son. Okay.
Thanks, Pat. Talk to you again soon. Just ask me anytime you want me on. Ask me. I'll be there, brother.
Thank you very much for your service, sir.
You too, brother. Take care.
All righty.
All right, bye.
That was awesome. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Chris Tonto Paronto. Peace and all kinds of love. Stay tuned. We will have more.